Welcome to a very important video on the Presgrove case. Join me today as I share and explain to you the method of triangulation, the meaning behind it, and how it can impact so many people in true crime cases such as this one. Those that are watching right now, you may have gone through it yourself, but at the same time you might be wondering, what does triangulation mean and what does it have to do with what you've experienced? Well, be sure to stick around today as I'm going to explain it all, and in addition, the steps to avoid those messy situations. Look, when it comes to true crime, whether you're a viewer, consumer, or a creator in some way, you might have a platform, you may be active on a platform somewhere, and you engage with comments, questions, responses, thoughts, and theories. However, there might come a time where you become a marked target, and it's how other people go after you indirectly and target others. That is a form of triangulation. I'm going to explain it more later, and I'll give some examples as well. But before we go any further, I just want to say welcome to those that are currently watching this live premiere. Be sure to share your thoughts, reactions, and anything else in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen there. And at any point or time, and for people watching on catch up, be sure to let me know your thoughts and any questions you may have, and your own personal experiences. If you want to, if you're comfortable, be sure to drop a comment down below under the video, as it will help with discussions and new ideas and just spreading awareness in general. And if you do want to support my channel and the work that I do on the case, down below in the comments there is a pinned message with a PayPal link to click on. Now, if you simply want to catch up on additional videos of mine, if you've missed out on any coverage on the Presgrove case, don't worry, I've got the full playlist available, and you can find it top right corner where the I symbol is. Just up there, if you click, you'll find the playlist drop down menu box and some of the loose videos attached, so you never miss one or any coverage, and in the future too. I might even link the psychology playlist too on the sideline, because that's what this video falls under. It's about making observations, pointing out the problems, highlighting the tactics which darkness uses, as in people, to get to you, to get a reaction, right? So, first of all, let's acknowledge, what triangulation really is, the meaning behind it. It's the process in which another person or group who may not like you, they may hate you, they may want to get revenge or cause pain upon you. It will normally apply as a form of psychological pain, psychological warfare, not so much physical upon oneself. Triangulation is the process in which the opposition will take it out or go after someone else. Third party, bringing another individual into the mix of things. This can tie into true crime, where an innocent individual is dragged into a case, a community, dragged into drama. They've done nothing wrong. They don't even associate with the case. They might not even know about it, but somehow their name has come up, or they've been ordered, summoned to appear, or they've literally been dragged into the situation. Triangulation can occur there, but can also occur in day-to-day real life on a more extreme scale. The process of getting a third-party person, dragging them into the mix of things when it doesn't concern them, but the interested, the opposition, is of high value because they use it as a bargaining chip to get to you. Specifically, the core mechanic of triangulation is that the opposition will target and pick out someone that relates to you, someone that is close to you. They want to get a reaction out of you. They may want to break you. They may want to make you submit and give in to something. Depends on the severity of the situation, but it can occur even on petty drama and disagreements. And I'm sure people may have already encountered that. But the actual form of triangulation doesn't have to be life-changing or really damaging, but it can still be disruptive and in certain circumstances avoidable, but not everyone knows how to or considers it. There are steps behind it. But yeah, triangulation, if an individual didn't like you and they wanted to cause a form of harm in some way, they may not be able to get directly through you because you might be resilient or you may not play those silly little games. But if they can find another person who you're connected with in life, whether that be a friend, a best friend, a family member, a loved one, a significant other, a brother, a sister, a relationship, someone who you're close to, someone who you think a lot of, someone who's close to your heart, where there is an emotional connection. That's the ultimate core mechanic behind it. That opposition will pick out someone that will pull on the heartstrings. That if an individual that you care about is brought into the crossfire, harassed, threatened, made to feel uncomfortable, and anything else in between, more so verbal, but also possibly physical, insulted, disrespected, what tends to happen is the one who's the target isn't directly being attacked, but they find out or see for themselves someone that they're close to is the one that's getting attacked. Why should an innocent person get dragged into, trouble? Like with the Presgrove case, if people want to share their own examples in the chat, they can do so. But why would that happen? Because it's easy. You might be resilient, or it might be too obvious to break you. But someone who's unsuspected, not even aware, not even alert, they're busy doing other stuff, they get suddenly dragged in. It's like a tornado, catches them off guard, not able to defend themselves the same way. And sometimes picking out an individual and weaponizing it to use it against you to cause hurt. It can be done in such a way that there's a selective process. You might have several contacts, family members, friends, and so on, but the opposition may pick out one particular individual, and it might come under the list of ticking boxes, as in, who would we go for exactly? Well, that person ticks the boxes for an emotional heartstring and connection to our target. This individual also is of a higher status and a hierarchical list in closeness to that target. So there'll be more defensiveness and protectiveness behind it. Thirdly, this individual appears a little bit more vulnerable or sensitive, so we can play that to our advantage to take control, to take over. They won't see what's coming, making it easier to deploy. And then when they strike, maybe verbally more so, small scale, big scale, that unsuspected victim, in a way, gets dragged into the mess. They get dragged through the mud. The life might get turned upside down. It might impact their in real life quality and anyone else involved, depending on the situation. It can cause collateral damage. And the original targeted person is there on the sideline at first wondering, so what's happening? Is anyone going to do anything? No, cowardly. You're going to say this and that, but not actually do anything. That's it. Gone quiet. But what they've actually done is taken the backdoor approach. Targeted someone that you know, that you're close to, and they did that because they know if they did, it would get to you and it would get under your skin, it would play on your mind, and it would trigger you to react in some way. Specifically, when it's someone you care about. That's what tends to happen in true crime in communities. It's what can happen with creators, but it can also happen with viewers as well. And it just causes a lot of disruptance, chaos, and collateral damage. And I want to know, if you're able, those in the live chat, have you encountered that yourself, or have you seen it happen in the Nerd Presgrove case community, right? I mean, there might be some crossovers where it might be misinterpreted and people will jump in and say, oh, well, my daughter got involved and this happened and that happened. Sometimes you got to look at it clearly that some people on the sideline may make the conscious decision to step in themselves and put the foot in the door into the case. What I'm talking about today is where you got people that don't even associate with the case, may not even know about it. They've got their own life, do their own thing, but they have a partner, they have a friend, they have someone that's present here in this case community, for example, that might be all about it and justice for Noah, but somehow, there's arguments along the way. They say the wrong thing, they make enemies with the wrong individual, it gets out of control. They don't get hurt direct, but someone else in the crossfire does. And then what do? Either they step down to protect their family, to protect their loved one, or they may back down in other ways and submit. And when it comes to the Nerd Presgrove case, with it being a bit of a debate back and forth, as in, murder, foul play, accident, unknown. It seems to be that if you think it to be a certain way, a certain type of death, such as an accident, you will get targeted, you may get harassed, false claims may be aimed your way. And it might happen from the other side as well. People that think it's murder or feel certain people are responsible, they might be met with resistance. This doesn't just apply to one true crime case, it can apply to many. It can also apply in general in life. Triangulation, third-party attack in order to break you down. And I'm saying you, not directly that there might be someone watching that's gone for it, but just to make it clear, as in language and wording, because people watching right now may know all about this and have seen it, but a certain term, word, description needs to be associated with it in order to understand the importance, the significance behind it. Some could say, does it really matter? Well, it does in some ways. I mean, if you was to apply it to a creator, someone that covers the case daily and frequent, biased, unbalanced, or balanced and wide perspective, it depends which creator you're looking at, right? But there's handfuls of different people covering the case on and off with time, but just about all of them, most, have stepped back or slowed down because there's only so much that you can do and talk about. But people came up with the ideas that some creators stepped down because they may have been silenced, threatened, they were put off by being pushed out of the community. I mean, there was a time where there was some people on Facebook, familiar faces, that were begging me to stop covering the case. People were actually begging me to stop spreading awareness, to allow the case to die. That's what people wanted. You can see how backwards the mentality is, right? But look, this is the thing. When you're a creator, for example, triangulation can occur more likely because you're in the spotlight, you're online, you're putting yourself out there, you might have connections around you, and then randoms online who may not see eye to eye with your thoughts or theories, ideas, who may develop some obsession, or they might become negative, or they have a run-in with you, or they misunderstand you. You have a choice, exchange of words, and then they come after you, but not direct. They go after someone that you know of. They drag them in. They tag them in a post on Facebook or on YouTube, randomly tagging people to get their reaction, to cause them disruptance, to then for it to get to you mentally. So you break or you snap, you react. There's a lot of psychological warfare going on, but it comes in different ways because Whilst the methods can be somewhat consistent across all boards, the motives behind it can differ. Some people will use triangulation in order to silence you in your beliefs in a case. In the Presgrove situation, as in the cause of death, the location, foul play or not, you could think of it a certain way, people involved or people not. And then you get on the wrong side of another person, or they create the problem themselves. They don't like the way you think. And if you're a creator, you may have an influencer effect on the majority and the reach and the audience that you may have. So a stranger, a no one online may not like that possibility, feel threatened by it. So they want to hijack the situation. They may use their own narrative, their own pettiness to try and convince you to think the same way, whether that's persuasion or by force. And by force would probably tie in with triangulation. They can't get you to see it their way, but they demand that you do. So they'll take matters into their own hand to either shut you down completely, so the other stories and outcomes and theories don't exist anymore, they go into a void, or they allow you to continue on the conditions that you follow in line. Very controlling behavior. Under those circumstances, you could say, why does it concern them so much, and why are they so threatened by an alternative opinion or presence? Is it because they're involved in Noah's death? Is it because they're covering for someone? Is it just because they've got weird obsessions and they've got a bit of a backwards mentality? Because look, the Jay Slater case, there was resistance, there was threats, there was darkness in that case, and the people that showed it didn't even have anything to do with Jay's death. They were probably just hijacking it just for the fun of it, for the attention, just because it felt good to cause chaos. Well, I came across resistance in the Jay Slater case, and I was just using appropriate language and wording and doing a critical thinking, but it received resistance nevertheless. So you can get resistance, and it's not always because of getting too close to the truth. It's just that they're bored, or that they're petty, or that they're obsessed, and they don't like the idea of alternative points of views. In some circumstances, it could even apply to a form of jealousy. That if you've got more depth, you've got more perspective, more than what they could ever have in their entire life, maybe they feel threatened by it. Maybe it's just jealousy that drives their behavior. But nevertheless, sometimes it can lead to an overreaction. And at the cost of all of that, it leads to someone getting hurt, and maybe psychologically, for example. And not like really bad or long-term damage, but it could apply. It's just that with it being mainly online, it will be the more of a psychological approach and counter resistance and force by people out there. And I'm talking vaguely because I'm sure people have their own stories and encounters. But look, we've seen some YouTube channels and creators step down from the case. Were they silenced? Were they told to stop covering the case? Did someone in the background or a family member, whoever, end up contacting one of their family members, friends or loved ones, get under the skin, make them feel uncomfortable, force them to back down, force them to submit? You never know. It's not quite the same thing, but let me just use it as a very rough example because it's the only one that I can think of on the spot, right, for this part of the video. When Robin Smith wanted to blast the location of Avery, which was 2 weeks on post Noah's death. Avery was at a baby shower, but it was at a brewery, but there was a separate room where there was no alcohol. At the time, Robin didn't know it was a baby shower, just thought they're at a brewery drinking. That's quite rich considering what happened to Noah 2 weeks earlier, and alcohol, it's not right. Robin reacts and wants the location to be blasted public to put her on notice as a form of intimidation to try and get her to break and make her feel uncomfortable. And no matter where she goes, we know where you are and what you're up to. It could encourage a call to arms and acts of public vigilantism, make them feel on edge, make them feel like they're watched every move. And whilst it was directed at Avery specifically, it's the indirect collateral damage it could have had if it went wrong because of all the other people at that baby shower. Even Jasmine Millan, in which Robin Smith and them lot had no problem with Jasmine Millan at the time, but Jasmine was associated with Avery and was at the party house with Noah. So even if the family are okay with Jasmine, the act of going after Avery directly, and if anyone online sees it and the location and takes matters into their own hands without the family considering that danger of vigilantism, not only could Avery have got hurt, Jasmine could have got caught up in the crossfire. That's a bit reversed and indirect, that form of triangulation, but it's still the messy process of an innocent individual to some extent getting dragged into the mess, the drama of an ongoing falling out or a grudge. It's reckless behavior and actions, whether it's done with absolute intent, in which triangulation tends to be done with intent, but the indirect forms as well are more reckless, inconsiderate, not thought out and impetuous, but maybe not done with malicious intent. But at the end of the day, one thing that remains a constant, innocent people get harmed and dragged into the crossfire, and there can be collateral damage. So that's just one very rough example. I have examples as well, which I'll highlight a bit later on, because that applies to the creator perspective of triangulation or early onset forms of it, or indirect forms of it, but ultimately how it can affect and impact the credibility of an individual. Whilst it can target an innocent person and they get dragged into it, it can still fall back onto the creator and they can be tarnished or damaged in the process, their character, depending on how they react to the situation. And you could say everybody reacts differently, or there might be a human natural response to want to be protective, to want to be defensive, to want to fight back or fight for someone, defend an individual, make sacrifices for the sake of protecting what's of higher value rather than the case. Just like with maybe some YouTubers in Presgrove or other cases out there. Some people may have stepped back from true crime cases because it was interfering with their personal daily life in real life. Sometimes it might apply to who's the biggest creator, who's more well-known, who's more likely to get more targets on their head, and then other people get dragged into it as well. But it can happen on smaller scales as well. You don't have to be popular in order to be attacked. I mean, early days, I've demonstrated that myself, what I've been on the receiving end of, but it's important how you react to the situation. They do what they do because they know it will get a reaction out of yourself, and on Facebook and communities online, it can happen. I think it's occurred where on Facebook, case discussion, and maybe some of their Facebook pages, specifically Presgrove related, where someone, a known individual, a viewer, a commenter, a mod, an admin, a person, just a part of a group page, not even a creator, who's had their photos shared on these different platforms and made public or just spread, even though it's got nothing to do with Noah's case, or family photos or vacation and children and others brought into it. Now, when it comes to younger people, it can be a very sensitive subject. So the people that go after them or just use a photo as a means of taunting and intimidation, that's clearly done on purpose to touch a nerve, because they know it will get under the skin of you, in which you might be just plodding along, learning about Noah's case or getting your thoughts across. You might deal with some counter resistance. There might be a grudge. There might be some negative person. You say what you say, but they don't like it. And then they end up coming after you, following you about, but maybe not direct. They actually take a left or right turn, back door, and find someone you know close to and then harass them. It's happened in the Dylan Rounds case a lot, tornado effect. Drama with two people, one-on-one, Others get brought in, got nothing to do with them, they've done nothing wrong, but they know the opposition, if they do bring a third person in, it's a bargaining chip for them to get what they want out of you, to get you to either step down, to no longer cover the case, to no longer participate in a group chat, a group page, or to force you to bow down, change your thoughts on the case and the likely outcome of it in an unnatural, forced way. Some people could use triangulation because it's done by force and it's highlights it's likely done because it's a sign of losing control. They may know that you're unyielding and you won't change your thoughts and you won't back down. And their whininess, their complaints, their little false claims and labels isn't enough to get through or break you. So then they have to use force, they've lost control, desperation tactics, they go after others. So it says a lot about them as an individual. They can't accept different opinions, they can't accept a debate, it's their way or no way at all. If you're not going to fall in line with them or think like them, they don't want you around, they will try and shut you down, creator or viewer. The more known you are or the more active you are can link on with the higher chances of being targeted by someone or groups out there. Not always just a singular person, it can be a group. It can be a wave of people, coordinated strikes, coordinated attempts. It might not even just be one person caught in a crossfire, but multiple to try and make you sweat, to make you say, whoa, okay. I'll give you what you want. I'll change my plea. I'll give you what you want. I'll step down. I'll say I didn't see anything. It's forced, it's unnatural, and they do it likely because there is a specific motive. It could still be petty, of course, but it does happen. Have I experienced it directly? I've come across it indirectly. But first, whilst I've highlighted how it can affect different people, let's just summarize it in terms of the factors, as in what makes a person a target and what increases the chances of triangulation. And then for me to add on and explain to you how to prevent it again, how to avoid it to begin with, right? Factors to take in consideration, which can make you a bit more of a target, would apply to how active you are in a case. The more you show your face, the more you don't get on with others or others don't get on with you, the more you're present, the more of a memory and reminder you serve on others, that to some people it will become an annoyance. Oh, look, here's that individual again commenting. Oh, here's that individual again pushing that idea within reason, but others don't like it. Throw the toys out the pram, get whiny, complain, moan, and some take it a step too far. The more consistent and frequent you are with your beliefs, your ideas, your actions, your commenting, your post on Facebook, Reddit, wherever, even on YouTube, the more likely you are to be known. The more you put yourself out there, the more you show your face, the more you post, the more frequent you are, the more of an annoyance you will become with an individual out there. It may break them. They may reach a limit where they say, I've had enough. I'm sick of seeing this person. I could block them. I could mute them, but no, I want them to be gone off the face of this earth. So I'll use form of triangulation. I'll create some drama. I'll stir something up. I'll create some misinformation, or I'll just go after someone, harass them, annoy them, get questions, get answers, and get under the skin of that person I don't like, so then I can get what I want. That's what it can come down to. And, you know, we've seen some familiar faces and names across all the different platforms and groups, some of which may have been attacked or got dragged into mess, that their family got dragged into mess, that their children got dragged into mess, that Just innocent, normal photos on Facebook have been used against them or used against people that they know of, weaponized. Material on social media, weaponized. To the perpetrator, they see it as ammunition. They channel it to their benefits and gain, to use as a leverage to break a particular person they don't like. It's strategical, it's like a chessboard, and it doesn't matter how small scale it is. If they're determined, they will push for it until they get what they want. We've seen little bits of drama and requests of people saying, take my photo down, take this photo down. Why do you not blur the people out in the background? How dare you do that? How dare you do this? I'm being vague, but I'm sure it will ring true to some people, and you can elaborate on it yourself in the comment section or the live chat. As said, I'm not going to know the ins and outs of all of the attacks and drama because guess what? I'm covering the case. But I do have my own examples, personal examples, to set the tone for triangulation to some extent, okay? And the complexities of it, because there are complexities. Other factors, as in what can set you up for being targeted more and triangulation occurring, is your social circle, your social media online presence. A lot of people can use Facebook, and those that use Facebook who engage with the true crime communities and pages, quite a few of those people have public viewable profiles, their pages. Their profile picture, their face may show. Their photo album may show. Regardless of age range, it could be thousands of photos, hundreds of photos, or just a few. It can be an album of memories, family, good time, all innocent, harmless. But this is the problem. If you've got a social network and circle, and that's public, your friend list is public, your family list is public, your albums and photos are public, it means anyone can view and consume that content, and they may use that as research into you, your background, your family members, your friends, your relationship status, where you work at, and then they may contact those people to create a leverage and a break point for yourself, even if it's over a small scale disagreement. If they don't want you here, or they don't want you to push a certain idea or theory in a case, even if you've got a genuine reason or even evidence, they will find a way to silence you, or at least try to, out of desperation. So, if you've got a Facebook profile and it's publicly viewable, and your friend list and family list is publicly viewable, they could be targeted in order to get through to you in that sense. If you're a YouTuber and you plaster your life online or on different social media pages, people may do background research into that to try and figure out, what's on show? What can we use to our advantage to scare that YouTuber, that influencer, to make them back down, to change their way of thinking? What's in the background? Is there any photos of that person associated with someone else? Could we get to them? Could we contact that friend, that YouTuber, that partner of that YouTuber, and scare them? So then that partner feels scared for their life, and then the YouTuber has no choice but to shut their channel down or the case and coverage and move on. Because they likely, like the creator, influencer, in certain circumstances, let's just put it that way, will probably value their people, their networks, their personal life, their personal one that they're with, before YouTube or before a case, a specific case. That can lead to stepping down. They may not acknowledge why they're stepping down. They may go quiet. They may go abrupt. All because it stems back to a jealous or a petty or an obsessed or a group of people that didn't like it and threw the toys out the pram. The more you put yourself out there, online, the more of a target you become. But more specifically, the more you advertise and share public about your life and the people you're associated with, the higher the chances that triangulation will take place. Okay? So it creates a spotlight. That's why some creators will have a professional account, a brand account, and then a personal private social media page with private posts and private friends where a stranger can't access or see it firsthand, unless you're a verified or a close friend or a mutual friend to that extent. That's why more don't do that on Facebook, just to protect one's self. But look, this is the thing. I can imagine most people aren't anticipating something like that to happen. Probably most people are just hoping that they can do what they do in life, maybe share it online for whatever reason, and then separately engage in a hobby, an activity, maybe a piece of work, who knows. To get involved in that under the same account and profile, and maybe the same name, without any consequences. But often there can be consequences regardless of what you do. It's unfortunate, but it can happen. You get on the wrong side of someone, another person falls out with you, then they'll target you, but in alternative ways. And it's the alternative ways that can cause the most damage overall. Instead of them just coming at you with false claims and words and insults, which might be hurtful, but if it's just on you, it's on you, no one else is harmed. That's a little bit better, that situation. Okay? So, what should people do then? What should people do to avoid it, to control it within reason? So you get the best of all worlds. You get to engage, you get to share your thoughts, you get to interact, but you minimize the consequences from it. Whether you've already established viewer, creator, or you're getting involved in true crime for the first time, or you're getting ready to involve in a different true crime community, what should you do to eliminate the other problems and worry? I think what's important to acknowledge, first of all, is to sit down and reflect. What do you have in life which is of value? And could it cross over with the line of work that you do, or the hobby or activity that you get involved in? There might be a positive crossover or overlap. That's good. But what about the negatives? You got to weigh up the reward to risk ratio. Is it worth it? Is it worth getting involved if it means other people get harmed or hurt? Does it do much good for yourself? Of course, you're probably not going to be thinking any of that if it's not happened before. But the way it is, more so online, because of the easy access and the reach and the scalability and the research, the search results, the profiles and all that, the databases, it's a lot easier than face-to-face trying to search and pick out people. You've just got to weigh it all up, the options. Is it worth getting involved in a new case? Is it worth getting involved to begin with? How should you go about it? Look, you shouldn't have to be a prisoner. You shouldn't have to deny yourself of things that you want to do or are somewhat interested in, but you need to at least be conscious of the choices or the changes that you make when participating. It's still possible, but consideration is required. For example, if you're a creator, if you're an influencer, you're getting involved in a case, true crime, it could be toxic, it could be a battleground. Try and make it so your in real life, personal life does not cross over with your online life or persona, because if it crosses over, it can get messy. Now, you can get influencers and creators that may vlog about their life, their daily life and what they do, because it's integrated. Their real life is also their social media life, but that's a specific niche job role influencer. When it comes to true crime, it is possible and somewhat easy to disassociate, disconnect real life from a case. As in, you could even consider the type of case or the geography of the case that you cover. To reduce and minimize triangulation and being attacked or other people getting dragged into the mess, consider the location of the case, true crime. If it's from your country, be cautious. Because if you get under people's skins, if you annoy, if you trigger a wave, a reaction of resistance, and it's in your own country, the case is in your country, the resistance is from your country, it's going to be easier for them to find you or harass you. If it's international, whilst they might still have those chances of locating you, they've got to weigh up the opposition, as in travel expenses and cost. Am I going to go out of my way, spend thousands just to see someone in person to tell them off and say, step down? Less likely. Another fees and cost in the background as well. Are we going to pursue this? Are we going to be petty? Probably not. It's not worth it. There's more meaningful things to be doing right now, or there's other people to be targeting. So sometimes the safest option is, if you're going to cover a case or you're going to participate in a community, don't be doing it in your own country. Do it further afar. Do it in the US. You might live in a different country. Cover a case from a different country, right? Jay Slater links back to the UK, but it happened in Tenerife. I didn't cover the case that much because I was busy doing other stuff, but other creators and people did cover it from the UK, and they were threatened with Molotovs, fire through the letterbox, machetes, knives, the lot. Not good, is it? But it stems back from the origins of the case, the origins of the victim, the origins of the resistance, all tailing back to the same country, and the creator that's getting attacked, or the contributor, the viewers getting attacked, also resides in that country, maybe the same town, maybe the same city. The geography plays a big role in the chances of triangulation being fulfilled and others in innocence getting harmed in the process. You want to consider. Second consideration is, I said, separating real life from online. If you cover true crime, it should be all about the case and not all about yourself in that sense. If it comes to personal experiences and stories, whilst it may be good to relate to the case or the situation, you open up about your own topics. Whether you're a creator or even a viewer, you might share your own backstory, sensitive information, and a bad past, a dark past. You might say it because you feel brave enough. It might help you in some way. It might help other people, but I still think there's a time and place for it, because in the Dylan Rounds case, people did get vulnerable, people did get emotional, a chat room, a live stream, not even a creator, but invited onto a panel, a show, Facebook page. They open up about their past, how they've been hurt in real life, physically, mentally. And whilst at first it can be praised and deemed as strong and resilient, and some could say inspirational, it's public. In the moment or later, through research, if someone doesn't like you and has a problem, they may use that vulnerable moment, which was public, and use it against you. They turn a vulnerable or a strong, powerful moment as a form of ammunition and transform it, weaponize it to use against you. Use your own story, your own words against you to break you, right? So it can involve other people, as in triangulation, but metaphorically, it can also apply to a version, metaphorically, paradoxically speaking, a third-person view in relation to yourself, of your old self, your old past. Your old past is being brought back up, being used against you, whether that be to cause shame or bring on guilt, to make you feel bad, to twist the words. In any type of way, it can be used. It's really intense psychological warfare. So whilst the common aspect is bringing in a third person who's innocent, completely clueless, they get dragged in. Your own self can get dragged in, a version of your former self, through the words and language exchanged. So it's okay being open and honest online and in the public, but you got to be aware it might be used against you in the future, and it might be used as a form of blackmail as well. Blackmail to make you bow down, to make you run away. And even blackmail towards people you know of. That's another method through triangulation. Intimidate, threaten them, expose or leak something, or like a bluff, a double bluff, to get a reaction. So, what you should do and consider, if you're going to open up, just be aware that it could be used against you at some point. If you're going to open up, maybe consider doing it privately, in a chat, a private conversation, and not immediately, but over time once you build a rapport or trust with an individual. Rush it too soon, they could use it against you. You could get backstabbed, and that will just lead to further trust issues and damage, harm upon yourself. Does no good long term. If you're a creator or a viewer, once again, separating real life from online, you're covering true crime, talk about the case, talk about the victim, talk about the possible people of interest, the location, the environment, without referring back to yourself too much, but also without any links like direct URL links, or using your profile, which is your personal profile and your personal life, using that same profile and account and username and profile picture in a group, on a forum, and so on. Because when they respond back to you or when they come after you, all they have to do is click your name, click your profile, and then there we go. That's their personal page. That's their real page, their real life. And it's basically all boxed into one place. So what should be considered, if you're going to engage in a case, a community, consider a form of compartmentalization, boxing it in separate boxes, separating your personal life from your online life, your engagement in a case separate from your personal details, your name, your background, your friend list, and all that. For example, creators can have a private profile and then a public profile separate. One may have a random username or a fake name to protect themselves, and then they've got their real profile with their real name. So they can't cross over or be linked as easily, right? I know you can say if people really want to find you, they will and find a way, but to minimize it, reduce the chances, these are the steps and methods that can be done. You can still participate, you can still be active, but you're just preserving and not literally hiding, but protecting your other profile, your page, your other channel, your friends, your family, and so on. I mean, look, this is the thing. If you're going to get involved in possible drama, because that's what true crime is, it's exhausting, it's a marathon, it's messy, it's reckless. And if you don't have your own page or your own channel and you're engaging in the wider pool of people, it can be a free-for-all. So if you're going to be in that presence and zone, you have to ask yourself, at what cost? What do I have to lose? Who is around me that could get dragged and caught up in the crossfire, even if it's unrelated and it's random? If you've got a family, or you've got children, or you've got a partner, you've got a friend, very close and all that, you'll have high value in life and what you value. But if that ever gets attacked or harmed, it will impact you, it will impact them, and you may lose a lot and in different ways. So the risk to reward ratio, if you're going to jump into a war, you're going to stand on top of that mountain and you're a lone wolf. You may not have much to lose. Anything bad that happens and the consequences fall just on you. You got no one around, there's no one present. They can't go after anyone that you know of because you may have no one under certain circumstances. So it just all is on you. But when there's other people, at stakes and connections and friends and relationships, they can be turned upside down and damaged and harmed. They can get harmed. In some circumstances, if you're reckless and you don't consider the people around you and their safety, you put them in harm's way, even if it's indirect, they may even walk away from you and step back to protect themselves. And then you lose out completely. You've got a lot to lose. So basically, the people who have high value in life and a lot more to lose are more likely to be targeted and higher chances of triangulation to occur. It's as simple as movies. You watch films, you've got the main person or the hero, They're under attack, but not direct. A house is on fire because the enemy went after their loved one who was still at home sleeping, set fire to it, burning down. The main character then has to rush back to save their partner or whoever. That's like how it's done. Target a vulnerable person. And that doesn't mean to play down an individual or insult them. When I say vulnerable, I mean a person that's not on guard. You know, they're relaxed, minding their own business. The self-defense mechanisms, their wall is lowered because they're in the natural environment doing their own thing, away from a case, not even aware of it, not even aware of who these people are or the darkness that exist. When you're in a world of your own or at a place of peace, doing your own thing, you're relaxed, you're stable, you might be happy. But to the outside force that wants to take advantage, snatch and grab, metaphorically, they can see it as easier target in that sense, not to be used as an insult, but that's just like how it can come across. You compare it to someone who's armed or face to face, locked in, ready, anticipating, ready with the language, the wording, the psychological warfare, won't back down as easily. It's going to be like colliding with a brick wall. It'll lead to a standoff and it won't go anywhere. So to break that wall down, go after something easier. Go after someone which triggers an emotional response. Then the bargaining takes place and then the bad people get what they want. It's unfortunate, but it can happen. So really, it's just got to make sure you weigh out what you've got, what you could lose, and then consider separating the things so they don't collide or cross over. Look, it's happened with streaming. YouTubers, Twitch streamers may have been doing their own thing. They got popular, they got big. On one occasion during a live stream, they decided to bring the partner in, their boyfriend or girlfriend, on camera. The audience reacted badly. It caused some parasocial dynamic of disruption. And then that person was outed or insulted by the fan base. It puts the creator in an awkward position where they've got to please the audience because the customer is always right. But if that's done, it can be almost like going against and indirectly supporting that possible abuse or mistreatment, maltreatment towards someone that you're with or connected to. You don't want your partner, for example, to get caught in the crossfire, to be insulted by the audience, but at the same time, if it's your job or it's something that you do, you can't just tell the audience off, and if it's the majority, you tell them off, they might walk away and then you might lose your job. It's a really messy situation that, of course, you should or try to protect the people around you, or even just at least consider the emotional needs and wants of the person beside you before you get involved in something, or whilst you're doing it. You got to weigh it all up. I mean, on the sideline, it's, look at it this way. To an extent, you might have a person that performs extreme high adrenaline sports. It's very risky, it's very dangerous on the person's life. And even as a professional, it can go wrong. That could be skydiving. It could be mountain climbing without any safety gear. It could be extreme sports and anything like that. Extreme driving. When it's just you and yourself, anything goes wrong, it falls on you. But the moment you've got a family, the moment you've got children, the moment you have a partner, their needs and emotions should be acknowledged too. If a person pursues and continues on doing what they do without any consideration of the backlash it could have on the people around, if anything did go wrong, it could be considered a little bit selfish and ignorant in a way. That a person who may be reckless or wild when other people are involved, and if anything goes wrong on that one person, it then has collateral damage on everyone else around. Having to pick up all the pieces because of that one individual with their one reckless way. So it's like, maybe continue what you do, still be supported, but then support them as in listening to them and toning things down depending on the situation. It's not about quitting. It's not about backing down or giving up. It's just about being considerate of the other people's needs around. Because if you value someone or if you're around people, it should matter to some extent. If you haven't got much or no one, maybe you can be as reckless as you want, depending on the consequences you're willing to face. When there's consequences and multiple which can involve other people, you got to be careful yourself, as in what you do and what you do next. So you're trying to separate the two. Life from online, case from your life, and so on. Try and split it down the middle or box it up in little pieces. Make a Facebook profile private so no one can see, so no one can go after you. Little changes like that can go a long way. And I know people could say, well, you shouldn't have to do that. Well, yeah, you shouldn't have to, but what's more important? Being safe, protecting yourself and people around you, and avoiding additional drama and enabling yourself to still continue covering a case, or continue covering the case without consideration at a cost of losing people around you, or just simply people around you getting harmed or hurt in some way, even if it's small scale, and it could have been avoided. Sometimes it may not be expected, and it might be too late, or it's already happened, and then people find out the hard way. It's not their fault. It's not always their fault. But then at that point, to prevent it from happening again or in a different situation, that's probably the time to make the changes or the considerations, just to reduce the target level, the meter, and so on. The reason why there can be conflict, though, more so when you're a creator, is because whether you're established or you're in the process of establishing yourself, you might have certain rules or actions and behavior which makes you who you are and stand out from others. If it's along the lines of being unbiased and open-minded, holistic approach, you don't give people special treatment or too obvious in that sense, you treat everyone equally, that's a very awkward situation to be in. Because if you treat everyone equally on a basic level and you don't go out of your way for anyone, if there's one particular person you do think highly of or care about, whether you come across them in the community in a case, or you're already with them or know them in life before, then you participate in a case, and if they participate in the case as well in some way, if they ever get attacked, under attack, called out, of course it can be your duty to protect them and do the best you can to make sure that they're safe. But then at the cost of it maybe undermining other viewers who may have gone through troubles and struggles and didn't reach out or didn't ask, or may have asked, but you didn't do anything for them, but you will for one person. One rule for one, a different rule for everyone else. And biologically and evolutionary, it's understandable and normal to give special treatment to someone that you're close to or care about compared to a load of strangers, of course. But in a situation of being a creator or an influencer where you might present yourself in a certain way and you want to remain professional, you want to remain emotionally unbiased, and you don't want to, come across as emotionally charged, you want to maintain that critical thinking, it will put you in a rock and a hard place where you do have to make difficult decisions. If someone you know or close to is dragged in, called out, harassed, they've done nothing wrong, they've done everything right? Good person, you know them, you're close to them, and they're close to you. Whether they ask or demand themselves, or you would yourself normally, it's like, right, I should call these people out, I should tell them off. But then if I do, it causes the backlash and the questions of all the other viewers that said, hey, where were you when I needed you? Why didn't you do it at that time? Now, some people will be understanding and know that if you're close to someone, you'll do more for them than others. And they accept that because they themselves would do more for their people than maybe a creator or someone else. The power dynamics, the hierarchical list, that you will give more, you will do more for a friend, best friend, or a family member, or a loved one, compared to an absolute stranger. It's normal, it's natural, it's kind of obvious, isn't it, in a way? But in the digital sphere, when it's public and open, you got the audience, you got the consumers, And then you've got your number one supporter, your number one fan, who you know possibly in real life or just online, but close. You want to make sure that they're safe, protected, happy and all that. But then you've also got to balance out the needs naturally with the viewers. And if you favour one person over everyone else, and if other people don't know the dynamics in the situation, they might think that, oh, you're giving someone special treatment and that's biased and that's one-sided and it undermines your character and everything that you stand for. Your credibility is out of the window. You're a hypocrite, and it can spiral. It can destroy your career. If it's a role or if it's a job, it can destroy. You can just lose everything that you've built and worked up for. So what do? You just sit back and do nothing. Well, some people might, but by sitting back doing nothing, if a loved one is also getting dragged into the chaos and you're putting your channel, your own character first above them and their needs, not only are they going to get hurt, but they might feel betrayed by you. Depends on how understanding they are. Every situation can differ. Even in the circumstances when they themselves may understand you, your position, and being in a rock and a hard place, is that psychological effect. It's that triangulation or that indirect triangulation in which others that started it in the first place cause drama, drag someone that you know into the situation, maybe because they know you're connected to them, or they just guess, or it's just by chance. And you've got to be careful how you react, because another way of looking at it is, let's say the darkness, resistance doesn't know that you're connected to someone, on a status level or in real life. They target that person. If you react, it's normal. It'd be expected. Defend, make sure they're safe, call the other person out. But to that bad person, it'll just only, light bulb on, that person that we targeted clearly struck a nerve with that creator. Maybe that they are of high value to that creator. Maybe we should do more at some point to strike a bargain, to make that person change their ways so we can get what we want out of the situation. It's almost like a hostage situation. What's it? I can't remember the first name. The Guthrie case. Some kind of hostage situation. And you can have them back if you give us money. It's like in the YouTube situation or online is, right, you're the creator. We're targeting this person, harassing them. We will stop. We will let go. We will walk away if you change your direction on this case. Instead of pushing the idea of an accident, push the idea of murder instead with no Presgrove. Because if you don't, we're going to continue and we're going to do more to that person that you supposedly care about based on your reaction. It's like sometimes you've got to play dumb. You can't react. Even beside triangulation, the actions of harassment online where people may try and get phone numbers from you or people that you know of and call into workplaces and all that, it might be the wrong number. They might advertise it online. They might do a stream or a video about it. If you react and you say, oh my God, how dare you do that? Or, haha, you got the wrong number. You're an idiot. You say you're an expert. Clearly you're not. You got the wrong number. Try again. Don't be saying any of that. Don't react at all. Or if you do react, react scared. If it's a fake one. If it's the wrong number. Because look, this is the thing. If you react back and say you got the wrong number or you're an idiot, that's the wrong one, what do you think it does to that, that enemy, the opposition? It just confirms that they got the wrong number. So they'll try again until they get the right number, until they get the right address, the right email, and they'll just keep on trying. If you don't react or you try to remain still and you continue on doing what you're doing, you're not giving them a reaction. You're not really showing much. So they don't know if they're on the right track. They don't know if they're close. You got to do the opposite of what the resistance does at times when you get too close to the truth. When you get too close to the truth in a case or a community, what happens? You get pushback, blowback, retaliation, threatening behavior, all kinds of stuff. False claims being made, warnings. Why would anyone need to do that? Maybe because they're threatened. Maybe because they feel like their cover is blown. Maybe because it feels like too close to the truth, and if the truth is revealed, it involves them and consequences for them. So they do the best they can to push it back, to prevent it. But by them reacting shows that you're on the right path. In this situation, if triangulation takes place and they target someone you care about and you react defensively, it will only highlight and acknowledge that they're on the right track, they've done the right thing, and they can just keep on going, right? There is a time and a place for them. If it's way back in the past and it's just gone, the dust has settled, different situation. But when we're talking about live, in the moment when it's more raw and it's rough and it's emotionally charged, worst thing you can do is react in certain ways, because it'll only confirm to them that they're on the right path or they got under your skin. So they'll push harder, they'll try harder and keep on going until they get what they want. In a circumstance of with the audience or the people that may watch and follow, and you react or you act a certain way in the moment live, and you do more, you go above and beyond, because not by a chore, but just by what you believe in or your purpose in protecting someone or keeping them safe, that you do react, you do call others out, or you do stand your ground, you do put your foot down, you take action. But then all the other viewers and people that may have been in rough patches then feel like, oh, we're underappreciated. You go out of your way for that one, but you went for us. We're walking, we've had enough. And then you lose. And you might lose greatly. It depends on how understanding audience is. Sometimes you've got to gauge it. If they don't know who you're connected with either, they're just going to see it as special treatment to one person. And that's, in their eyes, unfair. One rule for one rule, a different rule for everyone else. And then, if you originally built the foundations off or said that you're unbiased, you're balanced, you treat everyone the same, or basically you treat everyone the same, well, it doesn't show on this occasion. It makes you look like a hypocrite. But for good reason, because it's someone that you care about, like what anyone else would do, like what one of the viewers could do in their situation. But if they don't know, or there's blurred lines or miscommunication, it can all crumble and go wrong. And this is the other thing that needs to be considered on the sideline. It's the effect that all this has on that loved one, that friend, that person caught in the crossfire. They just simply wanted to support. They just simply wanted to come along and watch your stream, watch your chat, engage, go on a page on Facebook, be that supportive role beside the creator, depending on the situation or a relationship. Not only did they get attacked, not only did they get questioned despite doing nothing wrong, they then have to deal with an invisible weight and a negative feeling inside of, in the internal monologue of that victim or the person being targeted would be, I understand that my other half needs to do what they do because it's their job or it's their role, it's important to them, and I support them at the cost of my needs and the emotion and the damage it's causing in some way. I understand that they, the creator who I'm close to, they can't just change or shift the world just for me when there's thousands of people and supporters watching. It's their viewers, their audience, their customers, their clients, just like how I might have my customers or whatever, depending on the role. It is what it is. I have to accept, or I understand the situation they're in. I understand that they're in a rock and a hard place. If they put me first, is appreciated, but then the guilt of what they've lost. If they put one first out of love, that's good and positive, but at the cost of losing their audience or a crossover overlap, and they lose, it puts that invisible, indirect form of survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt doesn't always come down to the loss of a partner, the loss of a friend. It doesn't link to death always. It can link to the financial loss of something, the social loss, the presence, a position, a purpose lost. Big scale, small scale. It doesn't have to involve monetary stuff or monetary loss. It could just be other things and positions and roles or purposes or connections and so on. It's like the person that gets dragged into all the mess, who's innocent, then has to deal with the potential guilt of feeling to blame for it all. Oh, this person's lost everything because of me, because they put my needs before everyone else's. It's a really difficult position. It's difficult for both people, whether that be a relationship, whether it be family or friendship. You got a creator, you got an influencer covering a case, doing what they do best. But then somehow their other friend, their other partner, whatever, gets caught up in drama, gets dragged in. Like a sinkhole, a black hole. They just get picked out, triangulation could happen, and now it's time for that creator to protect their own, protect their people, protect their one, react and do what they need to do. But what? At the cost of losing out themselves? And then at the cost of the other half feeling guilty or to blame later on? It can have complicated situations behind it. At the end of the day, it can be avoided. It's all under control. But it depends how you act. That's the first thing. As well, beside any guilt, it just adds a lot of unnecessary pressure on the other people, the ones that are dragged in as a third party person, to get through, to get to the creator, for example. The creator knows what they've got to do, but then they've got to weigh it all out. They've got to react the perfect way. Not the right way, but the perfect way. So they protect themselves, they protect the other person, and they don't lose too much. Minimize the loss, damage, control. That might take a lot of effort and focus. And it's just the pressure and the added weight to that number one fan. What they have to go through, what they may be put through, and what they may lose themselves. You know, other ways could be, well, that friend, that family member, that partner, well, just walk away from the case. Don't cover it. Don't participate in the chat. Be invisible. Hide in the shadows. But why should they have to step down? Why should they have to deny themselves to something that they enjoy doing themselves? Or why should they have to deny themselves the ability of not being able to support their person, just because of other people online? So there's a lot of different life-changing situations and moments, big scale, small scale. The Dylan Rounds case, and I'll give you an example here because I can't with Presgrove. Through the case, it wasn't always about the case, but through disagreements and grudges like a tornado, people within the Dylan Rounds case and community, and on Facebook, more so YouTube, some people actually lost their in real life jobs just because of pettiness online back and forth, in which one person threatened, the other doubled down and said, "I dare you," and so on. Contacted their workplaces and got them fired. Other people actually lost their children due to false claims being reported in by a petty person, and the protection services had to come round and take the children away from those mothers or fathers. So through true crime, as important as cases are and victims are important, you yourself and your own life is just as important as well, and what you could lose in the process of it. Is it worth going through it all? It's not to put people off from true crime or communities, but it's to weigh the situation up. You don't want triangulation to occur. You got to go into it carefully. You can have everything, but you can separate true crime or your channel or your page or how you engage on Facebook as a completely separate, isolated thing if you either remain anonymous or you keep your life very private online. You keep your in real life stuff very private too. It's very possible, but it depends if you consider it. So, yeah. Now, let me use some examples right now, as in what I've encountered to some extent. The examples that I give are kind of like linked on with the idea of indirect triangulation, where it's not done with absolute intent and it wasn't planned out either. But it's more focused on the aspect of me being in a rock and a hard place, a difficult position in which something is clearly a problem, but depending on how I react, it could cause more issues longer term on a bigger scale, meaning more of a lose-lose situation, right? Example one being Vanessa Salazar. At a time of when Vanessa Salazar appeared somewhat close to me, there came an expectation and a demand from them. They themselves may have been a fiery individual and got in conflict and arguments and falling outs and drama with people online, whether they started it or someone else did. When you're around an individual like that, whether it be a friend, a colleague, an acquaintance, a close person, whatever the status is, in their mind, they may have the expectation and demand that no matter what trouble they get in, you follow and you pull them out of that mess, you fix the situation. That demand and expectation can lead to dragging yourself down and being worse off down the line. They could get in trouble a lot and they expect you to bail them out. It's not your mess, but they expect it to become your mess, your responsibility. And in a situation when you're covering true crime or you've got a YouTube channel or a platform and you spent years building it from the ground, and then you've got someone like Vanessa Salazar that demands and uses emotional blackmail wording to say, where are you? I thought you cared about me. Oh, we're going to play that psychological tactic. What's it going to come down to? What's the extremity of that situation, the worst case scenario? Really emotional, manipulative language to make one feel bad, to make one feel like they're a bad individual or they're a psychopath or they're cold. It's not my problem that that individual was erratic or confrontational or got into arguments with people. It's not my fault that they use piss poor language and communication. I am not going to lower my standards in the terms of using piss poor communication just for the sake of bailing them out of their mess, which they may have created or enhanced with how they've gone about other people. The reason why I am still standing as that last fucking centurion after all these years is because of language, wording, timing, and so on. There's a time and moment for everything. It's taken time, it takes effort, it takes focus, it takes stamina. And if you've got other reckless individuals who are perfectly okay being that way, but they're going to associate with me or have some expectation when around me, for me to end up lowering myself, making myself worse off in those situations, even when it's a stranger or someone who's not even that close, like Vanessa Salazar, that's how it was. But still that expectation, excuse me, who do you think you are? Demand. And I remember the group chats, I remember that clicking the fingers. Where's Warlight Raf? Help me. Support me, defend me, make a video. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to lay down all tools of everything that I've created just for the sake of you. I'm supposed to create all these videos now, drama and conflict and all of that, just for the sake of your mess or the messy situation. And what will that do down the line? Well, it leads to focusing on unrelated stuff. I don't focus on the case. Audience members notice that. Credibility is damaged. The presence is tarnished. Statistics are harmed in some way. And the channel is negatively impacted. So I'm damaging my channel for the sake of someone that is dragging me down in those circumstances. And let me just make that very clear, okay? The whole standard thing and being dragged down, I'm not applying that universally. I'm just applying it to this one person, an example, under the situation that Vanessa Salazar, for example, did appear entitled and demanding. And if I didn't defend them, emotional language was used against me. It wasn't like ultra dark or anything nasty like that, but it was early and I picked up on it and I wasn't going to break. I wasn't going to fall for it. I wasn't going to be a bag handler in that situation. I have to preserve what I have. Even if a person out there could be nice or this or that, but then messy situation and I'm expected to get involved when I didn't create it. It's the equivalent of in real life, if you were walking alongside someone, even if it was a friend or a best friend, you may keep to yourself. You may not do confrontation. You got your own ways with dealing with stuff, or you keep your head down. But if your friend or other connection is very loud, a loud mouth, what happens to you? Well, if you're walking about outside, come across bad people, your friend gets their attention, starts a fight, because you're associated with it, you get dragged into that fight, by choice or not. You get dragged into it by another person's recklessness. Is it fair on you? No. Are you forced to step on in? You might be emotionally, if you feel tethered or connected to them, you might feel guilty. You might feel like a bad friend or a bad partner. So then you do step up, but in unnatural ways. And other circumstances, when you don't do anything, because you're just in the presence and the vicinity of that individual, guilty by association, those bad people will target you too. Right? As I was saying, like with indirectly the Presgrove case, with Avery's location being blasted, or the one by Robin Smith, it's the collateral damage that it has on Jasmine Milan. If it did go wrong, it didn't, but if it did, Avery, even if she was guilty at the time, okay, they may get targeted, location blasted online in the moment. What if act of vigilantism, a group, a person went out in real life to target Avery at that baby shower, unknown that it was a baby shower and unknown that Jasmine Milan was going to get caught in the crossfire? Robin Smith and others probably wouldn't want that for Jasmine at the time, but because Jasmine was associated with Avery in the eyes of the outsiders and acts of vigilantism, it'll be guilty by association. So if you surround yourself with that person that we're targeting, you're no better. We're going to eliminate you too. We're going to take action. Collateral damage, it's not good. So when it came to Vanessa Salazar, I continued doing my videos. I might have done one video at the most or two defending Vanessa when it seemed like there was a reason to. But that was enough. Any more past that point wouldn't have done much good for me on my channel. Because Vanessa was in people's bad books and how they presented themselves and how they supposedly turned out or how they were exposed at some point. If I was emotionally connected to Vanessa Salazar under those circumstances, if I let emotions rule, if I was close, hypothetically, if I acted out on emotions or I was defensive as a friend or anything like that to protect Vanessa, what does that do for me? Because if they're exposed or when they're exposed, I look like an idiot, I look like a plank, I look biased, I look emotionally charged, I become the cancer like other people out there. I am not going to allow that. I did not allow it back then. And even when it came to the time of the claims by Vanessa of, oh, I'm upset, I'm sad, you didn't defend me when there was mess. Oh, I'm doing my thing. And you had Laura Dutton, a few teeth short of piano keys for a full set, blabbering on in the microphone, couldn't quite understand them, had the cheek to demand answers from me because there was that supposed social expectation that if you associate with Vanessa, which I didn't, but they thought I did, they thought I was connected with them, so I should step up myself and I should be the supportive one. Oh, very emotional manipulation. It's like some kind of manipulation, coven, sisterhood going against me, a male, typical. I'm doing my own thing, but no, they go against me, get too defensive because they themselves are emotionally connected to Vanessa Salazar at the time, Laura Dutton and some others. They question me, an interrogation, excuse me, who do you think you are? Okay, and the questions and the demands and the flow to it, you need to simmer down, know your place, and go at it slowly. You rush on in and you demand with expectations, you will not receive answers. We have seen that with Justin Roy. Demanding answers, then complaining afterwards. Why did I not get any? Because of your attitude. There is a way around it. But people don't learn, right? So I stood my ground. There was emotional manipulation aimed my way, or at least that's how it can be interpreted, because I do look at language and wording when most people don't, so I can see it when people don't. We saw it with Cleo as well. Abhorrent behavior beyond, boundaries being respected. Absolute disaster. What the hell was going on there? And that dates back to the past as well. Because if you didn't know, that viewer Cleo previously, in the past, made false claims, claiming that I'm a bad person, I'm narcissistic, I'm controlling. It's not a good look, is it? So, ever since or previously when people have seen comments like that, they're thinking, what are you on about? Who is that person? What are they talking about? I get that. But you can see how certain behavior and labels and lines can be damaging, especially to a creator. Like those false claims in the past saying, Warlike Raph is a trafficker. Warlike Raph is a doxer that doxed a ginger cat. An actual ginger cat. There is documentation of it in the past on my channel. That's how stupid it got. Now, that's not triangulation, but it's the actions of people. And then, the situation, what I'm in is in how am I supposed to react? What am I supposed to do in a way? Now, depending on how I acted, if I did the wrong thing, if I made more mistakes, which I didn't, but if I did with the whole Vanessa Salazar and their demands, if I gave in, if I broke down, what could have happened is the next time Vanessa gets in trouble with someone, if she keeps putting herself out there vocally and stuff, that bad person could have thought, you know what, Vanessa, you're strong-minded, strong-willed, and have a front on, fiery and full on. We can't get through to you. So what we'll do, we'll go after someone that you care about. We'll target Warlike Raph instead. Because if we target Warlike Raph, that's going to emotionally hurt you because you care so much about them. So then you will back down yourself. Indirectly, I would be in that position where I'm minding my own business, but then I get dragged into mess and I didn't even ask for it. That's exactly that would have happened if I did bow down like a little good boy. Okay? If I was a little bitch boy, if I did be the bag handler, I would get dragged into it on behalf of, that person out there. It could have been disastrous, but I have it under control. So, we don't just stop there, okay? Because there is another example to highlight. And under the circumstances of this example, I'm going to use the word someone or somebody out of respect for their privacy. Okay? Someone on my channel previously, out of respect for their privacy. But I will vaguely mention what they were on the receiving end of, how they were treated. Okay? It wasn't direct triangulation, but it was more indirect, as in people and outsiders on my channel go after someone, and I didn't, in that sense, it was under control. But in any other situation, one would react. And when one reacts to protect someone or defend or support someone, what does that confirm to the resistance? Touched a nerve. We'll take that in mind in the future. Scouting out the weak points so they can use it against you in the future. Controlling behavior. What I will say on the sideline, before I do forget, this is separate. I said general appliance that triangulation has. So before I give you the example, just before I forget, is when it comes to controlling behavior in real life, domestic, behind closed doors, one friend or one partner could go after the other partner to make them see it a certain way, behave a certain way, act a certain way, controlling behavior. If the other half or the other friend doesn't back down or is strong-minded, defends themselves, holds against the resistance, the darkness, for a little bit. What the controlling bad person might do is drag one of the other partners, other halves, relatives, friends, family members, and use them as a bargaining chip, threatening behavior. It could be something like, and this is just a monologue, if you want to have contact with them or see them again, you will do what I say. Controlling behavior like that behind closed doors. It could be the reverse, flipped, as in using third-party people who are close to the heart of the other half and convincing the other half that those third-party people are of no importance to that person's life anymore. Isolation, cutting out contact, controlling. I'll leave it there because I don't want to get too deep. Apologies if it is a bit too heavy. Let's now focus in on a more real, important aspect as well. An example. A time in the past, on my channel on YouTube, handfuls of viewers come and go and others do watch continuously. Shout out to people in general. But when someone was on my channel and they were being friendly and just light-hearted, like how other people can be at times, well, that someone was called out and falsely accused of being drunk, falsely accused of taking drugs. There are people in chat right now, possibly, and others, I think it's been publicly mentioned, like Joyce Begow or some others that have been falsely accused of taking stuff when they haven't. It's used as an insult by petty people online, but it's also done to try and tarnish and damage the credibility of that said person. If a false claim is made, oh, that person is drunk, that person uses drugs, it's done as an attempt to make that person look unstable, not to be trusted. If the general public fall for it and believe in it, then anything that that person that's been accused of says in the future, even when they're telling the truth, they won't be believed. They will be ignored. They'll be shoved to the side. That's why when it comes to conspiracies, when it comes to ideas, the truth, you might be called crazy. You might be told that there's something wrong with you, but there isn't. Under those, circumstances where you know the truth, but someone or something twists it, tries to make you look like the crazy one, tries to convince the masses that you're the crazy one. It's done as a form of alienation and isolation to isolate you from everyone else, to isolate the truth from coming out. So if ever the truth does come out, by that time, no one's going to believe it. That's how it can tarnish a person's credibility and presence. It can be very damaging if people fall for the lies. But that direct intent wasn't done here, but it was still insulting under the circumstances. So on my channel, at a time when someone was being playful, light-hearted, engaging with the chat, responding back to me, and in fairness, I was being light-hearted myself, and like how I use the term dodgy, my terminology, I started it, okay? It wasn't even that other person's fault. They were just simply reciprocating, and that's all fine and good. I started it and it was harmless. It was in the live chat. Just know that my videos are live premieres, meaning the live chat is real time, but the video is pre-recorded, meaning no matter how chaotic things are in the live chat, if you really care about the case, if you really value that, then you'd be focusing on that and not be being petty or whining about what's said in the chat, okay? And when I say you or you or you, I'm not referring to literally everyone right now, okay? It's not like personal like that. It's like in the past when we dealt with problematic people and others and outsiders and resistance, cancerous humans, cretins, basically. And even some lurkers that could still be about now, you never know. But, when you have people that are all about justice for Noah and the case, and then they say, well, what's going on in the chat is a mockery and it's disgusting, it's sick, it's vile. Oh, look, there's Warlike Raph, but no, we won't target Warlike Raph at the time who's been dodgy, who's been light-hearted. No, we'll target this other individual who's reciprocating it because they're the problem. Oh, so you'll go after that someone, you will insult that someone, but you won't apply it to me. That seems a bit one-sided. And unfortunately, it's because sometimes it can be a bit of a biasness, as in I'm the creator, I'm the one in charge. In their eyes, they don't want to come after me, but they will come after someone who they deem as lesser of an individual in the power dynamics. If you're going to go after one person, you might as well go after the other. If you're going to insult that someone for being light-hearted, why? If I started it, technically I should be the problem. Direct those grievances at me. We'll deal with it. There's no need to go after the other person, right? Who are the examples? Examples of people that were labeling and acting out. Beth Carr, Safia Moffat. Examples of people that said, that someone is drunk. That someone is using drugs. Do you have any proof or evidence of that? Beside what's said in the chat, which is just light-hearted behaviour. It's not that deep. It really isn't. But they look at that wording and language and think, oh my God, this person is just something wrong. You don't have proof. You don't have evidence. And most importantly, you have no clue what their background is. You have no clue who they are or what they may have experienced, and so on. A person being light-hearted could be doing it because they're supportive. A person being light-hearted could be doing it because they need a bit of fun. They need a bit of a distraction. Like with anyone else in chat. That shouldn't be denied. You deny that, you deny them of what? Happiness? Seems a bit twisted. Manipulative, controlling. If you don't like what you see in the chat, but you're here for the case in the video, the chat is separate from the video. The chat's live. The video is pre-recorded. The video was recorded earlier on in the day, which had nothing to do with what was said in the chat. Separate. If it's a problem, click full screen. It's not that difficult. Go full screen. Fill the screen with my fucking big head. I know it's massive. Just about fits on screen. Apologies if anyone's device does break or if the glass shatters, who knows. But click on full screen, you hear my voice or the video, you see everything on board, you take all the notes, you focus in, and then you're not distracted by the live chat. The live chat is interactive. It has freedom of speech for a reason. And of course, people have the freedom of speech to say what they think in response to the lightheartedness and all of that. But there's a way around it, as in what could be said, and consider yourself. Yes, you've got freedom of speech, but you've also got the freedom of peace, as in, do you want to start a war? Do you want to get involved in it? Do you want to drag yourself through unnecessary stuff? Or do you just want to focus on the case because I thought that's what you're here for? Oh, but Warlike Ref, you're messing about in the chat, you're being light-hearted. I think I've got every bloody right to, when I spent hours creating either a masterpiece or creating in-depth analysis. I think I'm entitled to a little bit of a rest. I think I'm entitled for a little bit of light-heartedness, letting my hair down, even though my hair's not long to begin with, in the chat, just like how some other people do, okay? I've been doing videos and coverage and keeping things alive at sometimes in the past for 2 to 3 years straight, almost every single day. And when it comes to the Noah Presgrove case, I've almost done it every single day, non-stop. An hour or less of being in the live chat, being light-hearted, breaking the darkness, or just releasing energy. Oh, that's seen as drunk or drugs like that, or other behaviour. It just seems a little bit unnecessary. And as I said, these examples that I give is kind of like my internal monologue of things I may have not said or done at the time because I was in a rock and a hard place. And in addition, it was the balancing act of keeping focus to the case, relevant to the topics at the time, keeping the audience somewhat stable, and trying to be supportive with that someone within reason. Because I wouldn't want to neglect or completely ignore, you know, in those senses. Of course, it can depend on who it is and whether you know them or not. There is that too. There's a lot of people online that may know one another through Facebook, through group chats. They may not even know people in real life, but they come across each other online to some extent and defend one another and stuff like that. It's understandable. It can happen. It can be selective as well. But when you're in a public area or like a public presence or a public role or some kind of purpose, you want to try and remain balanced. That's what you do for the case, right? You cover all angles and perspectives. You don't do tunnel vision. You don't nail it and go all in on one thing. You look at it in general. In a circumstance where if back then I did explode, or if I did, talk and do all that, it would have made me a massive hypocrite. So to avoid being a hypocrite, I did what I did. And what was that? It wasn't back down. It wasn't keep quiet and let that someone suffer or struggle when they've done nothing wrong. It was do it in a controlled, uniformed way. Not immediately in the moment, but the next video or two, add it in, set the record straight in a controlled fashion without the loudness, without all the swearing and all that, right? Controlled way. What I've done now is demonstrated like an internal monologue of what could have happened or what could have been said, but under those circumstances, it wouldn't have been the right thing to do. But at the same time, you're trying to balance it out. So it's not about pleasing everyone, but it's about getting the best outcome. And for the odd person present, you want to do what you can for them too, especially if they've done nothing wrong, right? So it's just an example, but because of this video and the topic that it has appliance. That's why I can highlight it under these circumstances, right? But just unusual, the treatment, the way it was. And even Cleo, lack of personal space, lack of respect for boundaries, not towards me, but towards that someone. The way Cleo was, her demands, her entitlement. Cleo being a third wheel, but actually inserting themselves, getting in the way. Sometimes making false claims. Other times, unusual jealousy, erraticness, coldness, dissociative type behavior, and more. Not healthy, not fair either. Sometimes emotional manipulation, language manipulation, switching and changing, and stuff like that. Whether I'm on the receiving end of it or someone is, right? And that someone, did they deserve it? Definitely not. In my mind, I'll give you more of an internal monologue right now, okay? To really nail in exactly why it's a problem. When Cleo did what they did, when those other people did what they did by making those false claims and more about that someone, my internal monologue would be, excuse me, how dare you say those things when, one, there's not enough evidence or proof, and secondly, do they even deserve it in the first place? And furthermore, as in regard to the odd thing in chat where it started, I would have been the one to have started it, as in being light-hearted, separate from the case, nothing to do with it, no damage done whatsoever, but other people were emotionally charged, petty, as stiff as a plum, stiff as a wooden door, and the way they acted and the labels that they said, unnecessary. If they had problems, should have aimed it at me. And in regard to Cleo too, excuse me. These cretins, get your grubby hands off that someone. Don't even look in the presence of that someone, not even deserving of being in the light of that someone. Very problematic behavior, for sure. That someone present in the chat, what did they do wrong? What were they guilty of? The only thing that someone was guilty of was being a good person. When they were present in chat, they were consistent. You know, you can't expect people to watch every video. I wouldn't myself. But that someone tried or did make every single video, you know, on time or making it when they can. They made the effort to show up. They made the effort to be supportive on my channel. They made the effort to be supportive of other people in the chat. But that someone was simply kind, caring, understanding, extremely patient. They never demanded anything. They never asked for anything. And yet look what they got back and look at how they were treated. Okay? I can relate to some extent because I tend not to get in the way of people in time. And I might be the catalyst, but I tend to be the one that keeps to myself or keep quiet. Okay? If I do my own thing, or I don't have much. And then when humans, the only time when they act, like talk about being kicked when you're already down, I can understand from the point of view of that someone where they came in with either positivity or naturalness, because they were a very natural person in how they handled themselves, very professional as well in ways. The reason why that someone was very professional is the fact that they weren't emotionally biased, but they put aside their thoughts or feelings for the sake of the channel, what I do, for the other people watching, in a sense that someone was extremely selfless. They were welcoming, they would say hi to people and whatnot. And there'll be other people in the live chat that probably do the same thing, right? But in this situation, they did everything right, really nothing wrong, and they still got attacked. They still got disrespected. Why exactly? For unnecessary, petty reasons. Oh, but it's okay for other people to be loud and very toxic and insulting and dark and full on in a more like done with intent. Oh, that's allowed. That chaos is fine. But someone who's kind and nice and very selfless, and apologies if I didn't say all the words because I can't think on the spot always, but caused no harm, never caused any drama. They were disrespected, they were mistreated, might have happened on YouTube other times or elsewhere, and yet they still show up. They still show up to the videos, they still comment, they still supported the channel. They wanted to welcome people because they either cared or they wanted the channel and everything to stay stable and grow, despite what they might be feeling inside. That someone, depending on how they were feeling inside at times, could have been affected by all this, but they suffered in silence to some extent because they didn't want to cause a problem or a scene. They dealt with it themselves in a way. Selfless, once again, selfless as in a positive thing, putting other people before themselves, right? And still showing up, still being welcoming to those disease-ridden humans despite what they did to them, you know? And at a time of when that someone, whether they felt the need to, or it was the right thing to do, or it was like a coping mechanism or survival, I do understand. We don't need to go into depth, but I do understand completely. But put in that position where, on top of being a kind, caring, nice person, they did it better than I could. They have to apologize on top of all that. They had to apologize to people, or felt they had to apologize to everyone in the chat, for example. Unnecessary. Not that what they did is unnecessary, but the fact that they had to feel like they were in a position like that. And there'll be other people as well at times that may have been in that position too. Okay? I mean, sometimes I use vague examples and other stuff is like what I've witnessed myself. But I said, at times it's important to respect people's privacy, right? And, you know, for people watching in the chat as well, obviously people know how to behave and act, but like anyone watching in chat, to respect people's privacy or examples that I give indirectly, you know? Because it wouldn't do any good as in, you know, just opening this and opening that. It's kind of unnecessary in a way, right? What else was there? Yeah, there was another time as well. Fake profiles. Look, we've seen it, haven't we? I've not really seen fake profiles, but other people claim to have seen fake profiles on and off, and more so on Facebook and further afar. And then it leaked over to YouTube. And then there was that bloody crossover with Vanessa Salazar and claims and rumours, which is absolutely cancerous, disease-ridden, reckless, impetuous, wretched, dogged nature, bombastic, peasant-like mentality, And why exactly? Because of how it was done. I have my stronghold, I have my presence, I have my ways here and how things are done, and then obviously people in the chat do their thing too. But there was third party, foreign-like information claims, false claims that came on over to the live chat on my channel, false claims that there were fake profiles to do with Vanessa Salazar impersonating an individual, right? And what ended up happening was some people fell for it, other people considered it, and it spread about here and there. What good do you think that would have done to that someone, having to put up with all of that shit while still being kind and supportive in chat? How can a person who's so kind and supportive and all that also be having fake profiles elsewhere? What's the purpose and the meaning behind it? And as for profiles or social media elsewhere, it just wouldn't be existing. It would be invalid, not available. How would one know? Because I know backstories, but not everything needs to be explained public, right? So I would know, and people could say, well, where's the proof, where's the evidence? Well, you can't double down because it's that rock and a hard place, that situation of respecting privacy, that situation of maintaining balance publicly, and that situation of keeping the case the focal point. I am spinning multiple plates at once, but preventing any from crashing. All under control, but it requires great focus and great effort and extreme stamina when you do multiple things at once, right? It's got to be done in such a specific way. But nevertheless, false claims of false profiles of a person elsewhere linked with Vanessa, or Vanessa is a fake profile too, and it links to that someone on my channel. Excuse me? Because the reality is, me, people can't replicate me. Language, wording, application, and how it's executed. Humans can't imitate me. Some are desperate, others are obsessed. AI can be used against me in deepfake because people are so piss poor pathetic that they are obsessed, gay obsessions with me. Not much I can do about it. Others copy words and lines, but they can't nail it the same way. Other people in the past created false, fake accounts of me to paint a bad picture of me, to damage me. Not everyone fell for it because they had common sense. And two, I couldn't be replicated. It's simple as. But beside me not being able to be replicated, when it comes to that someone on my channel that was extremely unique, they were extremely of high value and importance, as in what they provided on my channel, what they provided in the chat, just with their presence and natural behavior and just being welcoming. It made other people feel safe. But that someone made other people feel more at ease, at peace, appreciated, listened to, understood, whatever it is. Okay? So there was a lot of purpose, and that someone did a lot of good on my channel. Whether they were aware of it or not, they did, for sure. Do you honestly think that that someone, under those circumstances, would be having fake profiles and acting in certain ways elsewhere, or someone faking another? How could it be replicated? When you've got a unique key person like that, they can't be replicated. They are one of one, simple as, right? And if they're spending a lot of the time being supportive and present here, they're not going to be elsewhere either. And as well, if social media is non-existent or just doesn't apply, it's not going to be possible. In some ways, but it's through different circumstances, in some ways, that's someone probably better off or slightly more protected, put it that way. Not previous, but in the present. Because like what I said earlier about social media and all of that, and like how I go about things too. If this person and that person had social media, if I had social media more and I posted everything and did everything like how everyone else tends to do nowadays, what would have happened under those circumstances would have been triangulation, and other people in the background would have got dragged in more unnecessary ways. So what actually happened previously was indirect triangulation, But if the factors were different, it would have been direct triangulation. Let me give you an example of what would have been and what was attempted. You know that other YouTube channel, the one with the beard, the one that's like, whoa, hello guys, welcome, and I've got more videos for you today. Let's see what we've got right now. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. That individual, who obviously had an obsession with me with the deepfake AI of using me without my consent, without disclosing it as AI either, breaking multiple guidelines. They also threatened about coming to the country to come after me. Unnecessary. But you know what they did, and Lisa Jediman was an absolute plank of a teapot. Is the kettle black? I don't even think the kettle's black, probably more of a black hole. Is there any soul there present? I don't even know, but the teapot's probably empty. Spill all over the place. Oh, on the side, some other person recently, oh, what's the spilt tea? Tell us the news. No Warlike Raf on Facebook. Excuse me, who do you think you are, you cretin? Spill the tea. Has Warlike Raf been taken down? I don't think so. I am here right now talking. I think you need to look, listen, learn, and do some research besides some cowardly, anonymous pisspot plank as I start whining about elsewhere. Oh, Warlike Raf, where's he gone? I'm right here. Hello there. How may I help you? Do you want me to do my AI voice right now as an impression? No, because people will probably make the false claim that I'm a robot. But linking back to whatever, there was a time where that YouTube channel made a post inquiring about, does Warlike Raf have any connections? Does he have a sister? Does he have this or that? Because if he does, they're going to do sexual stuff to those people. So, in a different situation, right, if I was like anyone else, if I had a Facebook page, plastered myself about, photos everywhere, friendships, social circles, family, connections and all that public, if that existed, that obsessed individual would go over to Facebook, find all that stuff, then message those people, and then try to get to me, to get a reaction, to make me back down, to make me bow down, to make me obey. Triangulation, manipulation. But it couldn't be done because they didn't know who was who. That is what needs to be done if you want to minimize the triangulation, right? Now, in the background, maybe the odd person or someone was like, well, with this ongoing resistance stuff, maybe I should reach out to that YouTuber. Oh, no. No, 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 no. As said, people can make their own choice. I don't want to be controlling, right? But at the same time, I don't want someone to go through hell if I can sense a premonition that it could go wrong. It's a balancing act. There's a difference between a person and their own life and what they do and say and what you could sense. You can be an advisory role, and you know, if you're close to someone or very close or partially know someone, you can give advice, but you can't control them or what they do or the decisions that they make, even if it is hard to watch. If things do go wrong, it's a balancing act itself. But in that circumstance, because it's involved in regards to my YouTube and not my mess, but mess that I'm dragged into, that other person shouldn't have to go out of their way just to message someone privately to try and fix things. No disrespect when it's not their problem. They don't deserve to be dragged in or harmed in that sense. The reason why I said in the background, well, not in the background, on YouTube to people or the odd person, don't reach out to that YouTuber. Don't create a Facebook. Don't go over there and start messaging them. Oh, it's private. Yeah. How long for? They are notorious for leaking DMs. They're notorious. They've plastered and posted it. Whether that be Facebook or more so YouTube. And then other people, with time, different people, thought, oh, I'm going to email him. I'm going to message that person. I'm going to do a DM. Half naive and half just dipsy-daisy, lackadaisical head in the cloud, then complain afterwards, oh, why am I being targeted? Oh, why have I been leaked? Did you not look at the patterns? Did you not look at the trends? Come on, wake up. when there's clear patterns and trends and it's evident and they themselves know, but they still go through with it, it makes no sense whatsoever, it's on them. But the odd person that doesn't know of the patterns and trends has no clue what someone is capable of, but I have seen the patterns, I have seen the trends, that's why I acknowledged it. Don't reach out, it's not worth it. Even if you're doing it for me, even if you're trying to help me, don't do it. It's not worth it, as in, it'll only cause more problems, it'll cause another person problems, collateral damage, not worth it. Minimized threat, under control, hence why still here, right? In terms of the YouTube side, in terms of the YouTube chat and the people that have been present in the chat, and like how I said, someone in the chat at the time and kind of onwards, under control, because it was done the right way, but it was done on the spot as well. Not many people have been able to do that because they've not considered it or thought that it would be that way, right? But it's important to acknowledge one other thing. When it comes to that claim of fake profiles, saying that someone is a fake profile or the profile picture's fake at the time, that's a massive insult to them and who they are as a person in general, because they're a good person. But this is the thing. I'm just talking in general, as in people that reacted. But when that someone was accused of having a fake profile on Facebook or being fake as Vanessa or something like that, a handful of people turned their backs on that someone that made those people feel comfortable and welcome in the first place. And what did they get back? Those people that were welcomed by that someone, those people turned their backs on someone. They turn their backs on that person. That's loyal. That's good, isn't it? So you get welcomed, all positive, and then you do that to them. That's a bit unusual, isn't it? And this is the thing, just in general, if you've got a person who's good, who's positive, kind, and all that, at the very least, they deserve to be respected, basically. Basic respect. They didn't even get that at times, the way they were treated. There's other people that are reckless, loud, or a bit chaotic. If they're not respected, well, it's kind of like give and take. But when you've got someone that doesn't cause any harm, any trouble, they shouldn't receive any resistance. They should not be attacked. They shouldn't be questioned. Just let them relax. They deserve to relax. They don't have to, how do I word it? They shouldn't have to be in a position where they've got to apologise or be in a position where they feel bad or they feel like they've let chat down or let people down. They should just be able to bloody sit back, relax for once, and just be able to, breathe and watch the video or communicate to whatever extent, full on or light. They at least deserve that. And in other ways, they deserve non-resistance. But as for an internal monologue, as an example of what wasn't demonstrated or shown at the time, but I'll tell you something that was going in my head at the time, whilst other people decided to turn their backs and believe in the false claims of that someone having fake profiles or being a fake in general, I was the one that did not change. I remained unyielding, undying, unparalleled to anyone else. And why is that exactly? Because the way I see it, and it doesn't apply always, it can be very rare, this, and it can be very selective, I'll be honest. But when analysing and picking up and sensing a human under certain situations and how it's reciprocated as well, very specific, it's calculated in here. If I can be that 1% in this entire world that remains unyielding, that 1% that doesn't turn their backs on that someone, that 1% that doesn't forget that someone, that 1% that doesn't give up on that someone, even if most of the time it might not be success rates, it can be, it might not always work out, but under the circumstances, if I can be that 1% for once in bloody life, which they get to encounter, right? as in being believed in, being trusted, despite what they're going against and their back's up against the wall and people turn on them. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be that one fucking person for once that isn't a disease, that isn't a cancer, even though they may have come across cancerous humans and online at times. I'm not going to be like all the other cretins, because I have come across cancerous humans countless times over time and in real life too. Okay? So with analysing humans for over 10, 11 years, that's why I did what I did under certain circumstances. So, and that's the other thing. Like with the stamina aspect, yes, it applies to cases and communities, but it can also have appliance outside of cases, as in, you know, okay, I could be a part of the light and it's peaceful, but you know what? There's enough of that. Drag me down into that storm, drag me into that chaos and weather it as one, because the stamina is there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Not everything has to be perfect. Not everything has to be fine. The darkness too and the messiness is what I acknowledge as well. I don't think any less of that part, right? And when it comes to true crime and all that mess with what I've seen, patterns and trends and the predictability of it, it's nothing new to me in some ways, but it might be new to other people. So taking on board the triangulation, what to do, what not to do, and what to consider, it might help down the line. And okay, I probably did waffle on a bit with my examples, but I just wanted to balance it out. A paradox to the past, but basically weighing it out as in what I did, what I didn't do, and what I did in between for a better outcome. And in addition, sharing with you my internal monologue of what could have been going through my mind at the time, but things I couldn't have done in the moment because it wouldn't have been the right thing to do. And furthermore, being in the presence of an understanding person, understanding people, that's important too, as in listening to what they say or what they're thinking as well. Like when it came to some messy situations with the case and other areas, but that all aside, here we are. So we'll see what happens. And there are other No Presgrove videos to do, but I'll just see what's next because I need to balance it out with the Kenny Veach stuff so that doesn't pile up too much, okay? But nevertheless, shout out to those that were able to watch, and as well, last night, the live stream, that was good. The live chat, the, what do you call it, emoji things. We reached a target, so shout out to that person, whoever they are. It was good. The live reactions. I contributed just a little bit, just a tiny bit, but yeah, anyone else, they did more. So with that all being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it somewhat interesting. And yeah, hopefully it made sense. There needs to be a follow-up or maybe a summary. Maybe I can do that at some other point or tie it on with other situations. I just wanted to do it a little bit differently so it's more specific to the No Presgrove case, to honour the No Presgrove case, and for it not to just be completely bland in a way. I said the controlling nature, the triangulation, the manipulation behind it can apply general day-to-day life, but for once I didn't want the video to be all about that because I know I've done videos recently where it has been on all that, so just change it a little bit within reason so it's relevant. So we'll leave it there for now. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button, share the video maybe consider hitting the thumbs up, the hype button down below across from the comment section. If you're on mobile or tablet device, should be able to hit the hype button. Just pushes the video out there a little bit more so people get to see it and whatnot. And yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Goodbye, good night for now.